Alright, so the first step is to get down the basic structure. I usually start out with a circle, so this is the top of the head. And then I work my way down, drawing a line in the middle. This is the bottom of the chin. Then you just sort of draw the oval of the head around it. And keep going, so down to the neck. It's much easier to do this at the beginning instead of drawing the body after you've done the head. It makes it much easier to draw in the first steps. So basically what you're doing is just locating where everything is to make it easier to go into details later. It's like you're sculpting the head, basically, the head, the body. I never go into details in these very, very first steps. Just try to find where everything is. So I'm going to draw a line in the middle of the head. This is where the eyes are. Both of these lines are in the middle of the face. So this is just to make it easier to locate everything. Here's the nose. Sort of the mouth. And where the eyes are. These are just guidelines to help you find where everything is. And from there you can start working and moving everything around. At this stage it's good to make mistakes because then it's much harder to get rid of them later. Just trying to find where everything is and make it proportionate. Because if you draw an entire eye in the wrong place, it's going to be really hard moving it around later. So the easiest thing to do is just find everything in the very beginning before going into detail. Use everything you've got. Use the hair, use the shadows, everything to locate the rest of the face. So always compare and look in very small places, like how the hair falls on the eyebrows. That's going to help you locate where the eyebrows are compared to the eye, or the eye compared to the nose. Like always look at the distance. The closer you look, the better it's gonna turn out. So at first you're looking at it big, like where the head is and just in general where all the features are. But then when you're actually trying to find everything really closely, you have to look separately, so just like small areas and compare all the distances. Don't erase these guiding lines until the very end, until you're sure that everything's in the right place, because they help you out. They sort of actually go away once you end up erasing like little details. So by the end of your sketching, they might not even be there. in time they won't bother you, but you just gotta ignore them until everything is in place. Because they help you make sure that the face isn't falling apart. And always use the lightest pencil you have, so I'm using 0.5 lead pencil. And the lead is like HB or something, I don't know. It's light. It is light. And don't press too hard. That's the worst thing you can do, is pressing hard on it. Because that is the biggest pain to erase. They chose a good picture because it has a lot of shadows. And the more shadows it has, the more help it is to figure out where everything is. Because you can shape the face based on the shadows alone. Just me erasing mistakes is gonna end up erasing all these lines in the end without even noticing it. And although I'm using shadows to help me out, I'm still not drawing them on too hard. I can't press hard because that is bad. Do not do it. Draw as lightly as you can, even in the darkest places. Now that I've sort of located the eyes, or at least I think I have, I can go into a little bit more detail to help me see if I'm doing it right or not. Also looking closely, so just separate this from the rest of the drawing, zoom in on it in the picture. So you're focused on one spot. And then when you compare it to everything else, you can see if you're doing it wrong, if you're doing it right. It's in the right place. And so far I can see that I'm missing a lot of things, because Jongin looks like he is 10 at the moment. So we just gotta keep going until you figure out what you're doing wrong. Because as I said, it's better to figure out your mistakes in the beginning than in the very end. If you're a math person, you can actually measure the distances. But I'm way too lazy to do that, so I just sort of do it as it is. If it's wrong, I move it a little. But it would be easier knowing everything, but of course I'm not gonna do that because I'm way too lazy. So because I drew a line, it's visually helping me out, lining up the eyes, and putting them on the same level, making sure they're not twisted away from each other. When you're drawing the eyes, remember that they're not flat, it's not like this, but the eye is circular, so you have to sort of build around it and keep that in mind. You always have shadows falling on the ball, not on just a flat space. Again, so the closer you look at the picture, the more it's gonna help you with the small details. And so what I'm doing is just using shadows to help me out, to help me find where the lips are. Alright, so at this point my lines are getting dark and it's getting a bit out of hand. So I'm gonna need to use my trusty friend. Now this isn't just a regular eraser. This is a gray eraser. No, this is one of the more moldable ones. Alright, so basically what it does is instead of rubbing the graphite away, it sort of picks it up. Okay. So you're gonna take it, instead of rubbing it away like a normal eraser, I mean you can do that, but that's gonna ruin the thing. So if you just sort of dab it on, see it sort of just picks it up, just picks it off the paper, and makes it lighter, so you can get rid of all the unnecessary dark spots. It makes it much easier. This is really, really useful when you're sketching for watercolor. I'm telling you right now, when you're sketching just a normal sketch, and when you're sketching for watercolor, on watercolor paper, it's exactly the same. Exactly the same stuff, all the same basics, all the structure, it's all the same things I just told you. But you just gotta do it even lighter, because you don't want any of it to mix with the watercolor. And for the nth time, I can see that by drawing the lips, I have drawn the chin too high. Remember, I started out here, the chin was like here, and I drew it at first and I kept moving it lower. I'm still not right. See, this is the power, the magic of building the structure in the very beginning. Now what if I drew the eye wrong? Imagine what a pain it would be moving it down. So really the only difference when I'm doing a sketch or when I'm sketching for a watercolor painting is that when I'm doing a full-out portrait in pencil, I can sort of move it around and play around with it as much as I want. But with watercolor I have to be really, really careful and draw really, really lightly because it's much harder to get rid of all these dark blobs. So I'm still using all the shadows and everything, I'm drawing it on really, really, really lightly. Because with watercolor I'm going to be painting all those on. And with this I'm going to end up sketching it out anyway, so I don't really bother too much. I'm not bothered by it too much. I'm really good with grammar today. I'm so sorry. The lips are the hardest part to mix with the shadows because they often look like it's one big thing, big shadowy spot, and you have to sort of make sure you separate the shadows from the actual outline of the lips, because it is hard and often you can't even tell apart what is skin and what is lips, where one thing ends and the other begins. But as long as everything is sort of in the right place, it's gonna look fine. And make sure not to forget the light reflection if it is reflecting in the eyes. Because if it isn't reflecting in the picture, it's fine, but if it is, if you forget it, it's gonna look like is gonna look a bit dead. Light always makes it look a bit more lively. I'm still not going in too darkly because I don't wanna, if I get it wrong, I don't wanna have to scrub the paper away in order to erase it. So just very lightly, just seeing what it looks like if it's dark. If it's the right side, if it's in the right place. So now I can sort of see that I made them a bit too big. Still looks childish. I'm sorry, I can't help it. So with that, I can go in and make them smaller. The eyes are usually the hardest part. It takes a while for them to actually look similar to the picture. If you are copying a picture. If you're not copying a picture, by the way, if you're just drawing from your mind, it's exactly the same proportions and the same structure that I'm using. I use it for just drawing as well. I always build the basics first. So now, because I'm actually starting to shade in the shadows and shape it up, I can get rid of my guidelines because they're actually in the way of my shading. So now that I've used them effectively, I can get rid of them. By the way, I'm using this to get rid of all the eraser bits because I don't want to smudge it with my hands, so this is very useful when you're sketching.